The world moves into 21st century with all the advanced film technologies. Science fiction movies such as superhero series has been in the center of people's interest. We can first look at the amount of people outside of the first release of every single Marvel movie in theater to get a sense of how popular this culture has become. Specifically, Marvel company has been making more than 300% rate of return in almost every one of its movies, and the Rotten Tomato score for each Marvel movie averages 81%, substantially higher than the sci-fi movie averages of 62%. So what made the Marvel series so popular? Well, originating in 1939, Marvel comic books has always been at the top of middle-class children's reading list. From initially being a propaganda material for Korean Wars, Vietnam Wars, and Cold War to being a medium promote nationalism and individualism in the war era, comic books always served to perpetuate the ideology of the time period. Many superheroes developed during times of political uncertainty. For example, Superman rose to popularity during the Great Depression and World Wars. Captain America with national pride in his name was a symptom of fears of our time when we needed positive heroes to fight against Nazism. Spider-Man adjusts the fears of the average individual. From Marvel comic books today, we can still see traces of propaganda material. Nowadays, people watch movies more often than comic books. Some may argue that the ideology of white supremacy and male supremacy may not as prominent as before. However, through a closer look at the Marvel movies, we find out this is not the case. We can consider how do ideologies of white supremacy, American exceptionalism, and paternalism work in 2016, especially how does this ideology shape people's perception towards stereotyped villains. Where in the superhero movies can we see suppression due to race, class, and gender? In this video, we will walk you through how superhero movies are created and propagated to provide support for white supremacy and male supremacy, and how does this culture has shaped the two-sided American dream. Almost every hero movie has an antagonist. Through contrasting every single characteristic with the villain, a superhero is built. Research has shown that there are over 120 female supervillains in Marvel comics, yet none of them were being portrayed in movies. Why do villains in movies have to be males? Well, because female aggression may not be trusted in a patriarchal society. Besides gender, the creation of villains also involves race and class. In total, 32 villains over 5 years in 13 Marvel movies, 12 of them are people of color, and 10 of them have characteristics of people of color. Why is that most of the time villains are being portrayed as or carry characteristics of people of color but not white people? One of the main reasons is that drama and action movies are particularly guilty of propagating negative portraits of people of color to uplift American exceptionalism. When villains are casted as people of color, they are demonized in terms of their race and class. For example, the story setting in Iron Man 1 is in Kanal province of Afghanistan, which is presented as mountainous region that is, for lack of better categorization, a desert. In reality, the Kanal province is actually quite green. Even though it is rocky and mountainous, it is definitely not the harsh and dusty landscapes the film portrays. This raises the question of why is it necessary to portray Afghanistan in such a factional, incorrect way. Is it because of lack of research, or is it because of fictionalized setting actually reinforces American stereotypical perception of the Middle East, its brutal and barbaric nature, and allows more comfortable consumption of the movie by simply applying hegemony? Another negative portrayal of people of color is through outer characteristics. Even though the villains are played by white actors, their villain character in the movie is full of characteristics of people of color. For example, Thanos in Iron Man recalls black people with her dark skin, broad facial features, and actions. The Mandarin in Iron Man 3 records Chinese in his robe, big beards, and great towards wealth. In addition to this false representation of people of color, the physical attributes of the villain characters and their technological incompetence also reveal American stereotypical class perceptions. For example, Arabians' clothes are full of dust and patches indicating their lower class status. Their ignorance and technological incompetence further adds a bias to classism towards Arabs. It is difficult to understand how the guards could mistake the leg piece of the suit and armor for the tail of a missile. However, in contrast to the portrayal of people of color, let's look at how white Americans are portrayed in the movie.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, sir. Congratulations on the opening ceremonies. They were such a success, as was your Senate hearing. And may I say how refreshing it is to finally see you in a video with your clothing on, sir.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at you. You want to do this whole lone gunslinger act, and it's unnecessary. You don't have to do this alone.
You know, I wish I could believe that. I really do. But you gotta trust me. Contrary to popular belief, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Through comparing the negative portrayal of Arabians in terms of race and class and their villain's identity, and the positive portrayal of white superheroes' identity, superhero movies produce these equations. What's problematic is when the general public internalizes the above equation. For police, one of the main reasons for mass incarceration in the 1990s is because of the existing discrimination towards black people. Of course, no one would argue that these movies directly cause white police officers to kill unarmed black people. Nevertheless, they contribute to an environment that links darker skin with threats and inferiority. This further perpetuates white supremacy, which deems white people as superior to any other races. Besides uplifting white supremacy, the origins of superpower from superheroes also provides Americans with the real American dream. Have you ever wondered why not everyone can be a superhero? In order to answer this, let's look at how superheroes get their superpower first. There are two ways that superpower can be acquired: pure luck and hard work. Spider-Man gained his superpowers through luck, Charles Xavier gained his superpowers through mutation, and Iron Man and Batman gained their suits because of their wealth. Now consider how their enemies get their powers. Karnak, a black supervillain, was Spider-Man's enemy. He worked extremely hard with years of study and dedication to become a skilled surgeon and a physician. In order to gain his superpower, he replaces his heart with beta particle reactor, which supplies energy throughout his body and constantly improves his equipment. Spider-Man, however, gained his superpower because he was standing at the right place at the right time. Even in the case of those born with superpowers, such as mutant Charles Xavier and Jonah Cargill, white superheroes have far easier road in being successful than black supervillains. For example, the benevolent Charles Xavier grew up in a mansion and has all the financial support. However, Jonah Cargill, a half-black female mutant later joined Oculus, grew up in a battered child in an abusive household. Her father, a white armed formed officer, despised her from birth because of gender and race. Her superpower emerged at the moment when she was beaten to death by her own father. Apparently, her way of getting superpower is much more difficult than Charles Xavier. Moreover, it is undeniable that Iron Man and Batman are quintessential self-made superheroes. However, without Iron Man's father's company and Batman's bright fortune in making money as well as high-class status, there is low possibility that they are able to build their advanced weapons. At the same time, that in superhero land, winning the lottery makes you a hero, while working hard for your dreams makes you a villain. In that sense, the evil and good half of the superpower set make up the two sides of our American dream. Villains chase the American dream by diligently applying themselves, which is how it's supposed to be chased. Heroes, however, gained what Americans actually dreamed of: they live incredible lives for free. One possible cause for this mismatch in superhero culture and American dream can be accounted for discrimination based on class, race, and gender. Superhero represents middle to higher class citizens who are born with power, wealth, or both. They do not need to work super hard or bootstrap to change their fate. And because there is a privileged class in society, they refuse to challenge hegemony and to downgrade their social hierarchies. On the other hand, due to either born with lower class status or loss of power, we can align villains with women and people of color in the reality. Villains fight against perceived injustice, while people of color and women fight against the real institutional racism, classism, and sexism in society. What the superhero culture try to educate people at the bottom of social hierarchy is that, first, don't start a revolution or creation power because you will end up being a villain anyway. Second, wait for a superhero to save you and stay where you are right now. Does this somehow remind you of the white moderate that was criticized by Martin Luther King in Letter to Birmingham Jail in 1963? White moderates constantly suggest that black people wait and maintain their current status quo. The link between the superhero culture and the white moderates indicates the existence of residual ideology, white supremacy, and the obstacles of lower class people in conducting the bootstrapping that was encouraged by Reaganomics. Superhero culture also reinforces and perpetuates mass supremacy through deliberate intertwining masculinity and violence in the construction of superheroes' power. All the future superheroes in Marvel, Iron Man, Captain America, Falcon, Batman, Vision, and so on have destructive superpowers, while in contrast, the females in superhero movies mainly function as damsel sidekicks or princesses. Moreover, women in superhero narratives generally suffer from tragedy and lack of control of their own fate. In an incomplete list of over 150 women, both hero and civilian alike, more than 85% of them have been killed, raped, crippled, turned evil, tortured. It is evident that womanhood or femininity is not regularly celebrated in superhero culture because of their weakness and non-violence. Most of the women are killed for no reason other than to advance the male narrative. This further indicates women's function in the superhero culture are merely as plot devices, and to ultimately result in the escalated violence between superheroes and their enemies. Furthermore, while there are numerous female superheroes in Marvel comic books, there is only one black female superhero Storm portrayed in movies. Not to mention Asian female superheroes, Mexican female superheroes, and Latino female superheroes. And even though there is still the existence of white superhero females such as Black Widow in Avengers, her role is always supporting. For example, leadership always plays an important role in establishing masculinity and credibility of a man, while Iron Man and Captain America fight against each other verbally to further their team's agenda and reaffirm their positions. The Black Widow only contributes minimally to the conversation and tends only to support various men based on the legitimacy of their argument. Therefore, superhero movies have to perpetuate the ideology that women cannot be leaders and their femininity destines their supporting role. Moreover, let's see one more clip.
That much gamma exposure.
Here Tony is telling Miss Banner's and no need to hide his other guy since Hawk has saved Miss Banner's life so many times. Tony is trying to persuade Banner to release his strength and embrace his power. Throughout the entire film, plots like this happen multiple times, cementing notions that hyper-masculine characteristics and violent power are to be celebrated and even rewarded. In this video, we deconstruct superhero culture in terms of villains' origins and powers, and through looking at each aspect through the lens of race, class, and gender, we can conclude that even in 2016, superhero mainly function as catalysts in perpetuating white supremacy, male supremacy, and the two-sided American dream.